For decades, the Shin Bet was not just an agency. It was a conception, a methodology for national survival shrouded in a mythos of invincibility. Its agents were perceived as a function rather than as people, relentless, brilliant, and operating on a plane of permanent advantage. They were the invisible shield, an organization believed to be unbreakable. Then, on October 7, 2023, the conception collapsed. As the scale of the horror became clear, a single question emerged. How did this happen? How did an intelligence apparatus this sophisticated fail to see a threat of this magnitude? The simple answer is to label it a catastrophic intelligence failure. But the truth is more systemic. This was not a sudden breakdown. This was the inevitable result of a fundamental error, a specific failure of institutional discipline that has been repeated at every level of the organization throughout its history. This is a dissection of that error.
It is a story not of one failure, but of a decades-long decay that made a catastrophe inevitable. To find the source code of October 7th, we cannot just look at 2023. We must go back to the beginning. The corrosion of method. The myth of the Shin Bet was built on its effectiveness. But what happens when effectiveness is the only metric? In the 1980s, a series of scandals exposed the answer. It began with events like the Bus 300 affair in 1984. After a bus hijacking, 2 captured Palestinian perpetrators were photographed alive, then reported dead. It was later revealed they were killed during interrogation by Shin Bet agents. The ensuing cover-up, where officials were authorized to lie to investigators, revealed a culture that believed it operated outside the law. This was not an isolated incident. In the Nafso affair, an Israeli army officer's treason conviction was overturned after the Supreme Court found his confession was the product of illegal interrogation methods. A former Shin Bet interrogator admitted in court that perjury was a standard operational procedure used to conceal these methods. These events forced the establishment of the Landau Commission in 1987. Its findings were a bombshell. It confirmed systemic use of physical force and perjury, but its solution created the framework for future failure. While it forbade outright torture, it created a legal mechanism for moderate physical pressure, the guidelines for which were classified. This codified a gray zone. At the lowest rank, the interrogator, the fatal mistake was born. It was not an intelligence error, but an ethical corrosion. A belief that the ends justify the means. Human rights organizations have since documented thousands of cases where Palestinian detainees were subjected to techniques that constitute torture under international law.
A secret 1995 government report admitted that during the First Intifada, even senior interrogators knowingly and systematically deviated from regulations. This was the corrosion of method. It established a precedent that accountability was for others. It taught the organization that rules could be bent for the sake of security, a mindset that would, in time, lead to a cognitive blindness that no tactical success could cure. The failure of perception. By the 1990s, the Shin Bet was a formidable machine, focused almost exclusively on the external threat of Palestinian militancy. But this intense focus created a critical vulnerability. The fatal mistake, an ingrained cognitive rigidity, was about to manifest in national trauma. On November 4, 1995, Prime Minister Rabin was assassinated. The killer was not a Palestinian militant. He was Yigal Amir, a right-wing Israeli ultranationalist. For the agency tasked with protecting the nation's leadership, this was a total system failure.
The Shamgar Commission, which investigated the assassination, delivered a scathing indictment. Its report detailed a catastrophic breakdown. The assassin loitered for nearly 40 minutes in a secure area, in view of security, and was never questioned. The commission found that the fatal mistake had evolved into a conceptual routine. The agency had failed to adapt its threat model from Palestinian extremists to the rising danger of Jewish extremism, despite abundant warnings. The commission criticized the agency for failing to hold sufficiently serious or comprehensive discussions about this new risk. Operatives on the ground were conceptually unprepared for a threat from a fellow Israeli. This failure exposed the rot at every rank. At the lowest rank, operatives failed to identify a clear threat in a sterile zone. At the mid-rank, commanders had designed security protocols based on a flawed perception of the threat. At the top rank, the agency's director, Carmi Gillen, was held personally responsible and resigned. The leadership had fostered a culture that was blind to the enemy within. The affair was complicated by the revelation that a known extremist, Avishai Raviv, had been a Shin Bet informant. While Raviv was acquitted of failing to prevent the murder, the affair fuels a lingering controversy over the agency's methods and whether its own manipulations contributed to the climate that produced the assassination. The Rabin assassination was a diagnostic of the disease. The agency's greatest vulnerability was not a lack of manpower, but a failure of mindset. An arrogance that prevented it from seeing the world as it was, rather than how it had always been. The failure of intelligence integrity. After the shock of the Rabin assassination, the Shin Bet turned to technology. The Second Intifada saw the agency become a high-tech powerhouse, a leader in signal intelligence and targeted killings. But this strength concealed a new evolution of its fatal mistake. As the agency leaned more heavily on technology, it began to lose its integrity as an intelligence-gathering organization. The Gaza Strip became a difficult environment for human intelligence, or HUMINT. Recruiting spies inside militant groups was severely hampered, particularly after a botched 2018 Special Forces operation in Khan Yunis severely harmed Israel's intelligence network there. This degradation of HUMINT led to an over-reliance on technological surveillance. The high-tech border fence became the centerpiece of Israel's security concept for Gaza. The leadership believed technology had made them omniscient. This was the fatal mistake manifesting as technological overconfidence. At the highest ranks, leadership embraced the illusion of a technological solution. This dovetailed with a flawed political doctrine that Hamas could be contained with economic incentives like Qatari funds and deterred with occasional airstrikes. Media reports suggest that months before October 7th, Shin Bet chief Ronen Bar warned Prime Minister Netanyahu that this policy of containment was failing, but the political leadership remained committed to it. At the mid-rank, this fostered a dangerous cognitive rigidity among analysts. According to post-attack analyses, the agency became fixated on the known threat of Hamas tunnels, consuming analytical bandwidth and blinding them to the possibility of a low-tech ground assault. A perfect storm was forming. The HUMINT network in Gaza was weak. The leadership was committed to a flawed policy of containment, and its analysts were suffering from a severe case of tunnel vision. The Shin Bet had built a digital fortress, but had forgotten a fundamental rule. Technology shows you what, but only humans can tell you why.
Without human sources to provide intent and context, the vast streams of data were just noise. The agency was staring at a wall of screens, deaf and blind to the catastrophe being planned just miles away. 50 years and 1 day after Israel was caught by surprise in the Yom Kippur War, history repeated itself. On October 7, 2023, the decades of institutional decay converged into a single point of catastrophic collapse. The failure was not a lack of information, but a failure to believe it. The underlying breakdown was nearly identical to 1973. In both cases, Israeli intelligence had warning signs, but was captive to a monolithic assumption, a concept known in Israel as the conceptzia, that the enemy would not dare to launch a full-scale attack. This was the ultimate expression of the agency's fatal mistake. The evidence of this systemic failure was overwhelming.
At the top rank, the leadership of the entire security establishment presided over a monumental strategic misjudgment. They believed Hamas was deterred and focused on governing. Versions of Hamas's invasion plan, referred to as Jericho Wall, had been obtained by Israeli intelligence but were dismissed as aspirational, not as an imminent, credible threat. Shin Bet director Ronen Bar later took personal responsibility, stating in an internal probe that the massacre could have been avoided. He has stated he will resign when the war is over. At the mid-rank, the cognitive rigidity was absolute. On the night before the attack, the Shin Bet received warning signs of unusual activity. But both military intelligence and Shin Bet officials assessed these as low-level indicators, not a prelude to invasion. They were so locked into the conceptzia that information contradicting the assumption was dismissed, just as it had been in 1973. At the lowest rank, the decay was complete. The weak human network meant there was no one on the inside that confirmed this time was different. Anecdotal reports that emerged after the attack suggest that warnings from sources and surveillance soldiers over the preceding months were not escalated because they did not fit the established paradigm. Every layer of the intelligence system failed. The ethical corrosion of the 1980s had created a culture that lacked rigorous self-criticism. The conceptual blindness of 1995 had morphed into a strategic blindness toward Hamas. The over-reliance on technology had created an agency rich in data but poor in understanding. The shattering of the shield was not an accident. It was an inevitability. This dissection of a systemic intelligence failure shows that history is more complex than the headlines. These patterns of cognitive bias and institutional arrogance are not unique to the Shin Bet. They are recurring themes in the history of power.
If you are interested in further deep dives into the realities of intelligence and security, subscribe to the channel and let us know in the comments what other historical myths or intelligence failures warrant a similar analysis. From the interrogation rooms of the 1980s to the strategic miscalculations of 2023, the story of the Shin Bet is a cautionary tale. The fatal mistake was never just one thing. It was a creeping, evolving culture of decay. It was the interrogator given a mandate to bend the rules. It was the analyst so focused on one threat he became blind to another. It was the director so confident in his technological barrier, he forgot the value of human intelligence. It was arrogance, ethical compromise, and a profound failure of imagination, manifesting differently at every rank, year after year.
The October 7th attack was not the cause of the crisis in Israel's security establishment. It was the brutal symptom of a disease that had been festering for decades. Director Ronen Bar took responsibility, but the system he oversaw remains. And so, the ultimate question remains unanswered. Can an organization so steeped in a culture of its own mythos truly reform itself? Or is the fatal mistake now part of the agency's DNA, making the next failure, perhaps an even worse one, inevitable?